The 41st presidential election in American history took place on November 2nd, 1948. After Franklin D. Roosevelt died, Harry S. Truman took over, and soon after, Nazi Germany surrendered to the Allied forces. Truman took action and decided to drop the first and only atomic bomb ever dropped on another country, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He did it to end the lives of both millions of Japanese and American lives who would have kept on fighting otherwise. Instead of punishment, Truman called for aid. He pushed for the Marshall Plan. There were several quotes about him that were pretty racist, and maybe he did this just to get the black vote. Not only that, but several people in his own political party were turning against him. They tried to get Dwight David Eisenhower, the World War II hero general, to be the nominee instead of Truman, but they failed as Eisenhower refused to run for president. Eventually, the Democrats went ahead and went with Truman as their nominee, with Allen W. Ball, the Senate Minority Leader, as his running mate. Though Truman tried to moderate his civil rights resistance, some Democrats were like, nah, and walked out of the Democratic Convention. They started a new political party called the Stage Rights Democratic Party. Members of this party, known as Dixiecrat, made it a priority to keep the policy of racial segregation in the South. They nominated Strong Foreman, the guy who led the governor of South Carolina, and the guy who led the walk out of the Democratic National Convention for president, with Fielding Wright, the governor of Missouri, as his running mate. It wasn't just the Dixiecrats who left the Democratic Party. Some argued that Truman's foreign presidency didn't go far enough for blacks. They wanted more. Former Vice President Henry Wallace, who, remember, would have become the president if it weren't for Truman taking his place in the 1944 election, disagreed with Truman on a lot of issues. In fact, Truman had fired Wallace from his position as the Secretary of Commerce after Wallace talked trash about the Truman Doctrine. Wallace opposed the Truman Doctrine and wanted to get rid of the House unventured native visit. Luckily, opponents of Wallace called him a secret communist. Wallace supporters would also lead the Democratic Party to form a failed progressive party called the Progressive Party. These progressives nominated Henry A. Wallace for president, with Glenn Taylor, a cowboy from Indiana, as his running mate. The Republicans had a lot of people running for the nomination and tried to get Dwight David Eisenhower to run too, but after Eisenhower again declined, many familiar names stood up for the nomination: Robert Taft, Thomas Dewey, Earl Warren, and Alfred Vanderbilt, and Harold Staten, who were all in the lane in 1944. There was also Earl Warren, the governor of California. The Republicans played it safe and went once again with Thomas Dewey, who was still the governor of New York. They nominated Earl Warren as his running mate. Dewey and Warren, of governors of two of the largest countries, made up a strong when the Democratic Party fractured into three different parties, nearly every poll thought that they would win. Dewey made sure he was just doing whatever he could to just avoid major mistakes. He was often laying on foreign policy. As I said before, Harry was not a popular president, and he had a hard time raising money for his campaign. Shortly before election day, journalists were so confident that Dewey would win that they went ahead and wrote articles ahead of time proclaiming him as the next president. And here are the results. What is considered to be the greatest upset in American history: Harry S. Truman won, remaining as the 33rd president in American history. No one seemed to see that one coming, and yet Truman had won by 3 million votes. He received 303 electoral votes and won 52.1% of the popular vote. Thomas Dewey finished second, receiving 189 electoral votes and 45.1% of the popular vote. As respective Strong Foreman did well in the South, he received 59 electoral votes and 2.4% of the popular vote. Well, he didn't get any electoral votes. Henry Wallace did get a solid 2.2% of the popular vote as well, getting a couple of thousand votes less than the Strong Foreman for 4th place. Allen W. Baldwin became the 41st vice president in American history. This would be the underdog election for 4 candidates to be behind in the polls to always think they had a chance.